Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? I wanted to reach out and to see how everybody's doing. Just touch base as we finalize our semester. We have about 4 weeks to go now. Um, and I'm going through your discussion post 6 right now. And I know we're all dealing with this pandemic, and it's affecting us all in various ways, individually in particular, but also as a collective, as an entire society. We have lots of challenges. And then on top of that, we have to complete our work, right, and meet these certain deadlines. Um, and this is all as I'm evaluating and reading your work. Again, I just want to reiterate that what I value is your effort, right? And I understand the conditions that we're all trying to do our best work in, but I know that sometimes that might not be most optimal conditions that we can be in. We know that. So we're all cognizant of that. My colleagues and I here at DVC and across the country are all cognizant of what we all have to do to get the work done. And hello, everybody. How are we all doing today? I hope we're all doing well in spite of all of our circumstances. And I just wanted to reach out and send you all a message regarding first to see how we're all doing and really seeing how we're all doing, reading your post. And it was a little glimpse all the into all the conditions that we're all living under right now and trying to get our work done and having to work, or maybe some of us being out of work and just being confined to certain spaces. And I know this is a challenge. This is a historic moment in our history, in this global moment. It's something that we really couldn't have imagined, even though we have somewhat planned for these times. But I also wanted to just lay out kind of a broad overview of how we're going to finalize our course now. This week you'll be turning in discussion post 7. On that final discussion post 8, I will probably push that off for another week just to give you some more time from these back-to-back discussion postings, get everything arranged in your other courses and in your life to try to finish strong. And other than that, you will have the policy paper number 2, which was posted yesterday on dealing with the topic of immigrant prisons most broadly, thinking of this is an issue that has been, prevalent for our entire history, but really pivots at a specific historical moment beginning in the 1880s. Or we're looking at the Chinese Exclusion Act and the subsequent Geary Act that really sets the ground for what the immigrant prison becomes as we know it today. And now we're dealing with the immigrant prison under a new crisis, and where these have become hotbeds for infection and death in those places. And we're expecting numbers to become positive cases to begin to rise in those spaces, not only in immigrant prisons, but in state, federal, and county jails across the country. So we see a lot happening behind those walls. So that's your policy paper number 2. You're going to be watching a few clips. You'll be doing some research, and you still have access to all our library databases, which I've sent you the link for that. You have access to our librarians who are waiting to assist you on how to locate resources for this. And I'll send you more info on that, but you have the link there on how to contact them, contacting a librarian, and setting up an appointment, or just chat on them and tell them about your topic, your assignments. I work closely with folks in the library, my colleagues there, so they're ready to help you. Also, if you require, and you should utilize at least NetTutor that you have access online to, and in our academic support services center. And so those are some resources that you have at your disposal. But I just wanted to finalize in thinking about, what are some of the takeaways that were from this course, which is in an online format. I know some of you are taking classes also face-to-face, and now suddenly all your classes have shifted to online. And they might be a little slightly different than what this class was set out to be like. But some of your takeaways, as I set out at the beginning, to telling us to really think about how law affects us all in society. And I think now in this moment, it's more apparent than ever of how laws and policies are really structured in society. We're looking at the institutions of government, from the system of checks and balances that was established after the ratification of the Constitution, and also centering how power functions in our everyday lives. And one thing that I've mentioned from the outset, and I mention this to students in class every day, if you want to know how American government works, American government is the title of the course. You don't have to take a college course to understand that. You can pick up a book or go search online, and in 15-20 minutes you familiarize yourself with the institutions of American government. But what we're engaged in is really developing a critical analysis of those institutions of governance, a critical lens, right? If you wanted to know about how a law is made at the superficial level, you do not need to come to college, right? And I kind of half jokingly state that, but our task is to really uncover the hidden mechanisms, the motivations, the specific interest, capital that looms over our working conditions, and etc., etc., etc. There. How do we remedy some of the issues that society is confronted with today? We see what's happening now in our society, where there are still beliefs that what we're engaged in is not real, right? It's not really happening. Where science is debunked, and science does not inform how policy is made. It is a contestation over individuals or talking heads who are not experts in that field, but may have a platform or may hold a political office to be able to develop a law or policy. So your takeaway from this class is always asking questions about why things are the way they are, who do they benefit, following the money, right? Sometimes leads us in a direction where may lead to a lot more clarity on some of the answers that we're looking for. And what we know, and what is very stark in our moment, is how the economic system really functions and facilitates how knowledge is disseminated in our world, how we are politically socialized. Remember that concept from our early readings, and it should be something that we're constantly thinking. Political socialization is how we come to know what we know in our society. So we are socialized. There's a socialized belief system that there is only one way of understanding or learning American government. Well, we discarded that at the outset of this course. We know that that is a mechanism that is imposed on students of American government or of political science per se. But what we've really taken on is interrogating those institutions and American government through this multifaceted approach, or the intersection of class, gender, race, and disability, and to really come to see where individuals rank within this social contract that we call the United States of America. And is it one that fits all of those differences? And how are those realities lived by those different populations? So I just want to kind of now just close out with that idea of what we're taking away, where we're headed. And by acquiring this more knowledge about these systems of power, you are able to make sense of how power functions over you and what opportunities you have. Look at we're looking at lots of examples in our present. Your stimulus bill, did you receive one? Did you not? Who received money? Whose interests were at stake? Who was sitting at the table and debating who would be compensated? How do we really reconcile the bailouts of again, the capitalist class or the billionaire class at the cost of the multitude of workers on the floor, right? Why are issues of millions of people losing their jobs and losing access to health care at a time when we're in a healthcare crisis, right? Um, and those are kind of the contradictions that come to the fore when the powerful, those who hold capital and control of the media, as we're heading into that chapter, the five corporations that control these businesses, what you read, see, or hear, and how they shape our worldview. Right now, again, as we speak, and you're reading the news, we see people who are out protesting to end this, how we are confined in our homes. Um, and this is a very, and people are kind of baffled, the majority, which is good, right? When we're looking at some people who are taking an ideology and putting people at risk by being out in the streets and demanding to have their individual rights not infringed upon, but not thinking about the collectivity of us, and how they may themselves even be harming um, loved ones or in the end themselves. So lots of issues. There is lots at stake in what we take away here, because this is going to be the lens in which you begin to see, examine, and move in the world, and examine the whole of society and your role in it. And do you have an obligation to others? Do we have obligations to others, and to try to work to build a world where all worlds can exist in on a more equitable basis? And that is fundamentally about power. It is the power of those, the select few, those who we at times refer to as the 1%, or the less than 1% actually. And then on the other side of that equation, the rest of the masses. And who gets to dictate? Who gets to dictate policy? So I will pause there, and I'll come back in a bit, and try to bring everything together as we culminate, this textbook. I hope you've been enjoying the course and the content in this moment, and I know it's a very dire period in our history, but it is a time when we make sense of the textbook and some of these concepts and how we relate to one another. So, and I just wanted to come in again and see you all, have you see me, and in this time that we're all engaged in this at the same moment, working through the same conditions, although on very different levels. Some of us, as we say, some of you have to be out and work. Some of you have lost your jobs. Some of you are in conditions on how are we going to pay the rent, and how did that come to be, right? Who determines who is an essential worker and who is not essential worker? One thing that I hope this disrupts the notions that we've always heard of the concepts of skilled labor and unskilled labor. Well, now it becomes very apparent that those were only political constructions in order to devalue some labor and pay a certain wage to a certain set of workers, and those who we deem as maybe high skilled workers, maybe a little more, right? So there is a hierarchy of wage earning based on political constructions, on the needs and the whims of those who own the businesses, the manufacturing plants, the agricultural fields, and those who try to exploit or use that power to exploit profits from those workers, which are us. So, and that's becoming to the fore right now. Why should certain workers be paid more than others? Okay, so I will leave you all with that. Have a good week, and we will be touching base soon. And I look forward to reading your Polsc papers and the rest of your work. And remember, just engage with each other's posting, engage with each other. And I'll be sending out a study guide for that final exam a few weeks in advance, so you can all be ready for that. And it's just going to cover the content from our exam 2 till the end, through chapter 16. All right, have a good evening.